Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful night. So, I just got back from Scream 5. First off, I want to give a hand to the people in Hollywood who all had a part in making this movie. Then I'm going to give a big fuck you. We're going to begin with non-spoilers first. I'm sorry if my swing or anything is offensive to anybody, but right now I don't give a crap. I just went to the theater and I just got insulted, as has a lot of my friends who are passionate film and movie lovers of franchises. Every one of us has been attacked by a freaking movie. And I will get into that when I start the spoiler review. As for the spoiler-free review, I will get that started right now. As you can see at the bottom of my screen, it says spoiler-free review. So, first off, hello to the people who are watching. Thank you for stopping in. This movie started out great. Started out just like any other film or Scream movie. This movie is, by an objective standard, around a 6.5. It's not good. It's entertaining, but it's not good objectively. However, subjectively, this movie had me right up to the climax. Right up to the climax, where they reveal the motive of the killers, was where they lost me. You had a great story, pushing all the way up to it. And believe me, I'll explain why. But then you had to give the worst statement in a film ever. This was agenda-driven, folks. It was not woke in terms of identity politics, but this movie is agenda-driven. It is literally this movie, if it wasn't called Scream 5, it would have been called Fuck You, Toxic Fans. That's what it would be called. And I'll explain why in my spoiler. But as for the movie itself, this movie has a pretty good cast. Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. They come back. Even Skeet Ulrich comes back. Billy Loomis from the first movie comes back. But not back to life. He is featured in this movie. I won't say how until I get to the until I get to the spoilers, but yeah. I'm like, this is an actual pretty good freaking twist here. There's ambiguity in there that actually makes it possible for this sort of thing to happen. However, there are things that are not explained thoroughly enough that cause massive problems. There's logistical problems with this movie. I mean, there's logistical problems with every freaking Scream movie. When a person's stabbed in a certain area, they should not be able to go as far as they do in these films. Not to mention people living that get stabbed all the hell and gone and still somehow end up living. This movie was pathetically predictable. I knew exactly who the killers were the second they were introduced. I took one look at the killer suspects, and I'm like, yep, that one and that one. That's exactly who they are. And lo and behold, I was proven right. This movie, as Green Goblin said, Willem Dafoe said in the Spider-Man movie, the original one, you're pathetically predictable, like a moth to the flame. But they actually managed to get my money out of this. I will admit they got my money out of it. because I didn't know what they were going to pull. Um, I do like how some of the story actually made a mockery of a certain RJ initialed piece of shit. But then we get to a twist later that just makes that irrelevant. This movie basically follows the same formula as Scream. And Dan Blackroyd, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for stopping in or thank you for tuning in. I was out way before the end. Yeah, believe me, I would have left too. But I want to see a movie all the way through in order to give a full and comprehensive review. The logistical or the logic in this movie is fucking beyond flawed. This movie is a complete departure from reality in a sense that whoever made this movie should be fired from Hollywood. In fact, I'm actually going to look it up. Who directed Scream 5? Matt Bettinelli, Open, and Tyler Gillette. Yeah, you pieces of shit really fucked this one up badly. I mean, seriously. Excuse me. Yeah, that's not too much of a spoiler. There is a hospital scene. But yeah, this movie does have its fair share of problems. They got a pretty good cast. Some of it's good eye candy. But for the most part, there's so much wrong with this film. Like I said, this story grabbed me pretty much all the way up to the climax. It had good writing. It had good cinematography. It had good digital effects in in one particular example. Because it was really needed. Now, this movie truly does pay homage to the previous films. You see certain mirrors of certain scenes. You also see how, because Sydney is in this movie, you see how she has learned from all of her experiences. And you truly realize just how screwed up and disconnected from reality that Hollywood is. I mean, this movie mirrors particularly Scream 1 and Scream 4. Because Scream 4, with the whole reboot kind of idea, but they call it a requel. And you also have the original being back in Woodsboro attacking certain people who are somehow connected to people from the original. Now, this movie does heighten the stakes, and I will explain in the spoilers why. There is a death that was well earned. It was actually quite the blow. However, there was one kill that I was like, huh. I actually did not see that happening in my head the way it did. You know? But I'm glad that it actually surprised me in that regard. So the scenes in certain scenes, they become predictable, yes. But the Scream franchise does become extremely predictable. They always gave you false hints. They always gave you misdirection and misleading hints to say, oh, this guy could be the killer. Oh, he obviously is the killer because look at him, or her, or whatever. And it's like, really? Really? But I also love how they call out the obviousness in certain scenes, especially near the end. So yeah, with that out of the way, I am going to start delving into the spoilers because it's in the spoilers where this review will truly shine. However, I will give my scores right now, and I will give them at the end of the review. Objectively, this movie is about a 6. Subjectively, this movie, up to a point, is a 9 out of 10. But beyond that point, this movie drops all the way down to a 0. And I will explain why in a moment. Moviegoer, if you're not paying attention, folks, like many people don't, if you're a general moviegoer, which is not, or I don't have no problem with people who are, you'll probably like it. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10. But yes, we are going to move to the spoiler review. If you are still here, you have approximately 5 seconds to depart because I will start discussing spoilers about right now. So if you are not wanting to be spoiled, best to depart now. And okay, let's get into it right about now. This movie was a big fuck you to any person who is a passionate fan of franchises who have complained after certain groups got a hold of these franchises and molested them with their modernization and wokeness. This movie is not woke. Like I said, it doesn't have any of that overt agenda attached to it of identity politics or political statements, really. But however, this movie does basically say, all those toxic fans, you are the problem. You are all the ones who are complaining about movies being ruined or franchises being ruined because of later iterations and trying to tell the stories today. You are the problem. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you seriously kidding me? That was their motive. That was their motive. The two killers literally tell Sidney and Gale in the climax, all these toxic fans, well, we're going to stand up and we're going to show them how it's done. Essentially, this is how Hollywood views us, as violent serial killers, as psychopaths. This movie views us as psychopaths, folks. A person who loved the original Star Wars and couldn't accept Disney Star Wars because it was a blatant disrespect to the original lore, to the lore that was established by the original movies. It was to people who are fans of the Infinity Saga all the way up until Endgame, but who are not paying attention to the other movies afterward. They're basically saying that all of us who have been calling out Hollywood for their use of identity politics and their complete dissociation from reality when it comes to franchises and how they are done. This movie was basically saying fuck you to people like us. People like the Fandom Menace. People like all the bigger channels that I follow. This movie was a gigantic fuck you to all of them and me personally. because I fall in with the crowd that is sick of franchises being molested to the point of absurdity. We dare speak out against something that we know is wrong, yet because we dare speak out against the establishment, we are labeled essentially by this film as psychotic killers, as psychopaths who will do anything, including kill people, to try to get what we want. That's what Hollywood is saying in this film. Earlier in this film, however, they did call out, or they had some characters who were actually attacked and stabbed and whatnot, who actually did also call out as passionate fans, called out the stuff, and basically it's like, okay, this movie is starting to give a wake-up call to people. But then they pulled that at the end. Now, the killers are Jack Quaid, who's been, you might recognize him from The Boys. He's the guy that had his girlfriend exploded when the speed freak ran through him, or ran through her. You also have a girl played by Mikey Madison, or whatever her name is. I think it is. Yep, Mikey Madison. These people were the obvious killers. You just had to look at them and you knew they were the killers. The ridiculous story gymnastics this movie had to connect characters to the original and justify the connections was pathetic. Yes, it was, Dan Blackerod. You are absolutely right. Also, bringing back Skeet Ulrich as a ghost, so to speak, as a hallucination ghost. But the de-aging was done very well. They made Skeet Ulrich look almost exactly like he did all those years ago. They ignore any real connection to anything beyond the original, at least build on the lore of the franchise, not just rewrite and tack the elements. Well, here's the thing, Dan Blackerod. They actually do mirror a couple of things from later movies, like where Billy Loomis's daughter's character tells Ghostface, "Fuck you, why don't you come at me, bro?" And he does. That's a complete callback to Scream 2, where Sidney basically said, "Well, why don't you come face me, you fucking coward?" And he's right there. The main characters killing people, I think, is a good, or the main character, or one of the main characters dying. Rip to Dewey in this. Dewey finally died. However, the one character of Mikey Madison's character, Tara, I think her name is. Yeah, it's Tara. It doesn't make sense how she could be the killer. Logistically, because her physical build. You're telling me that her physical build is going to handle adults. I mean, yes, these killers move quickly. They cut first, ask questions later, and whatnot. She wouldn't have overpowered the sheriff's son. Wouldn't have happened. Wouldn't have happened. Dewey's death was terrible. No way he was overpowered by her and killed like that after taking shots to the chest. Bulletproof vest, dude. Bulletproof vest. But yeah, she would have been hurting a lot, especially from taking revolver shots to the chest. Remember, he had a 6-shooter. And I believe it was a 45. That sucker was a stopper. She would have been hurting a lot. But they did show that nobody was safe in this movie by killing Dewey. However, I do like when Sidney Prescott comes in. I do not know how the hell she knows that Billy Loomis's daughter. It's like, you're Billy Loomis's daughter. How the fuck does she know that? How does she know that? Nobody knows how she knows that. It's like, really? Why is he showing up to this person? But then it's like, if Billy Loomis's ghost is showing up to this girl, what is he? Her sister, brother, daughter? I knew it was family immediately. But then it's like, well, holy shit. You know? Scream 5 should not have been made. Like I said, this movie had me up to where they gave the motives. If they would have came up with any other motive, I would have been fine. But they gave a specific motive saying that passionate fans, they call us the problem. They say we are what's wrong with fans. They call us toxic when they're destroying lore and they're attacking fans and disrespecting us. Well, we're going to show them that we deserve respect. And not really, Dan Black or Red. Not really. This movie was a clear fuck you to anybody like you and I. Exactly. Broad daylight. Why wasn't the street swarming with cops while the killer was there? Should have been there. Should have been there. It's like, she said all units converge onto my home. Why did it take so long for them to get there? They should have been there immediately. They would have been there in minutes. But hey, gotta forget. And then they have the audacity to put for Wes at the end of this movie. Really? Really? Wes wasn't an agenda driven person. He never made a movie that was saying, we're going to make a statement against this or that. That wasn't who Wes Craven was. Wes Craven wanted to tell a good story and keep it fictional. He didn't want to introduce real life drama or real life bullshit into and push narratives. Yep, the kid that was killed was called Wes. Yeah, they're essentially killing Wes Craven. Now, before I saw the girl who turned out to be the killer, I honestly thought that kid was the killer. You have an overtly pushy mom who is the cop or who is the sheriff of the police, driving you nuts all the time, and yet, who wouldn't snap at that, you know? However, when I saw Tara, immediately it was dispelled. It's like, yeah, she's the killer. She just gives off all those vibes. Fuck the false hints that they're giving here and here. Oh, this guy looks like a badass. He might be the killer. No, that's a dead giveaway that's not the killer. You got Randy's niece and nephew, the twins. Definitely not the killers. Definitely not the killers. You have the girl who's basically the slut bag. Could be the killer, but no, it just comes off wrong. Then you got the one who is basically obsessed with the main character's younger sister, who wants to protect her and who is basically trying to do everything she can to support that character. They're always close, and they're always the closest. So, yeah. Nobody notices she lives in Stu's house. Oh, yeah, I noticed. Can't stay, don't want to get spoiled, but I shared the link, Orange. Thank you, Soul Assassin. Just don't watch this movie, Soul. This movie was meant to insult people like you and me. But I do appreciate the support. Or nobody she knows noticed. Yeah, I know, right? And Jack Quaid, could you get any more obvious that he is the second killer? Biggest misdirect. But blatantly obvious to somebody like me who is a moviegoer, who knows the Scream movies, who knows the rules, knows all of it. And I'm like, really? You really think that you're going to actually fool me, right? Dude, this motherfucker's the killer. Or one of the killers. It's always two. I like how he did try turning sister against sister, though. Didn't work, but yeah. But freaking Billy Loomis's daughter being the hero of this movie. She's the new Sidney Prescott, basically. And her going absolute psycho at the end, stabbing her boyfriend who was the killer. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Really? First off, the stabs in this movie are so freaking fake. When you are stabbing a person multiple times, you're still going to have to show that there is resistance in the stabbing. When you're stabbing into a body, even if that knife is razor sharp, sharper than concertina wire, you're still going to meet resistance from the bone and from the other areas of the body that you are cutting into. Force Ghost Billy helping out. Yeah, I know, right? Doesn't even attempt to help Dewey subdue the killer in the hospital. I knew then. Exactly. And I'm thinking to myself, who the hell or was it Gail that called Dewey? No. She was busy with her news report. So the only other person who would have called Dewey's phone would have been the killer because he knew that his partner was about to die. So clever there. I'm sorry, folks. When you have a person or when you have a story that is so fucking good all the way up to the point where they give away the motives and they say that the motives are we're like the fans who hate franchises because who hate the modernization of franchises because it's messing with with the original lore and disrespecting the original lore. We're killing people because they keep on but we're going to make sure that these people respect us after we go down in history. Really? You're saying that I'm a serial killer. You're saying that I'm a psychopath. Scream 5, directors, Hollywood, Paramount. You're saying that anyone who believes or who follows the same passion as we do for the original lores and whatnot, like we do, you're calling us psycho killers. And I don't appreciate that. So do I recommend this movie for anyone? Absolutely not. Especially if you are a person like me who cares about franchises where you really do love them and you don't like the direction where they're going, especially when they're going in a direction that shows the people making it are completely disconnected from completely disconnected from the said franchise. They know nothing about it. But they call us toxic. They say that our toxicity is what leads to serial killers. This is not a joke, folks. This actually is a freaking thing that they push. And I find it deeply disturbing that a movie, or that they are using a movie to strike back at us in the worst and most heinous way possible. You're nothing but deranged serial killers. You don't like that we fucked with your fans, or we don't like that we fucked with your franchises. Too fucking bad. Why don't you go kill a bunch of people? That's what they're saying. You make that connection to Randy, but have neither twin recognized anything with the character they are connected to. A major event in town number 2. Nobody seems to know anything about the locations, the players, none of it. Well, his niece noticed. She's like, "Wait, a killer could be behind me, you know?" And she actually picked up on it. But yes, this movie was was good up to a point near the climax, and it just turned out to be a big. Hey, guess what? We're gonna pull a Rian Johnson and basically say "fuck you" out loud in this movie to you. You are what's wrong with movies, not us. You. And we're going to display you like this. We're going to portray you like this so that people who see this movie will subliminally think that we're psychotic and most likely going to end up trying to kill somebody to make a point. One of the things I do like when Sydney and Gail get there at Stu's house, and Tara comes out pretending she's been stabbed. They're like, "What do you think?" Trap. That was a fucking beautiful. Oh, fuck this. Boom. And it's like, oh, shit. That was fucking great. But yeah, that was an actual good part. There was some good moments in this movie. Like I said, the story, for the most part, was a pretty solid freaking story. But when they got to that moment, no. You done fucked up. You done fucked up. This movie was meant to insult people like me, like my friend Mara, like my friend Lethal, like my friend Rhino, like Lyndon, like Dan Blackroyd, like frickin' all the other people out there, like Odin, like OG Star Wars. This movie was meant to be an insult to us. This movie was a slap in the face at us, saying, this is what we think of you. You are a bunch of psychotic killers that would rather go around killing people, and you're nothing but toxic. Well, fuck you too. I do not recommend this movie. I highly suggest no one goes to the theaters to pay for this movie. This movie deserves to bomb in the box office. With a modest budget of only $24 million, however, chances are this movie will make profit. But what they should have done was change the motive. They shouldn't have gone there. But I will say this, at least they listened enough to know that we are out there, and they find us as a threat because they decided to slander us in a movie by making us the killers. Anyway, folks, that is going to be my live review. Scream 5 was a movie that should never have been made unless they had changed the motives for the killings. The movie was great all the way up to that point, had pretty solid story. It followed the Scream formula. But once they went there, that's where I drew the line. You don't freaking call people like me a serial killer just because you don't like how we're reacting to your flawed narratives. So yeah, this movie subjectively, up to the point where the killers are revealed but have not yet revealed their motives, this movie falls at an 8. But as soon as it crosses that moment where they start talking about the moments where, oh, I was radicalized, he went down to a 0. Scream 5 sucks. It had potential, but it squandered itself because the studios wanted to fight back against us, real fans. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the video. You all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Thank you to Dan Blackroyd and Soul Assassin and anyone else who may have been watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to get to bed because I got to be up at 1 to put some wood on the fire. It's going to be negative 20s tonight. So anyway, folks, you all have a wonderful night. God bless you all. Thank you so much for helping me on my journey. And I'll catch you all in the next video. And until then, folks, this has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.